Okay, we are live.
Hey everybody, Jean Presley Whitaker, Keller Williams Realty Gold. Today we're going to be talking about getting ready to make a wow listing presentation. So the other day, Jen Clifford from our office did a wow class about how to prepare the CMA. So if you were not able to attend that, that is going to be on our site. And Blake, where is that going to be?
That'll be our YouTube channel.
Okay, so how do they go to that?
You go to youtube.com and then search for Keller Williams Realty Gold and our channel will pop up. Go ahead and subscribe so you get a notification every time that a new video is posted.
Right, so you want to go there, youtube.com, Keller Williams Realty
Just search for
Gold,
Keller Williams Realty Gold.
and click on CMA. Or have we labeled that class yet?
It'll be the same name that is on the calendar.
Okay, so the name on the calendar was
CMA something.
CMA something. So
Yeah, I
go
can't
to
remember.
CMA. And you really do want to watch that because you're really getting from one of the lead agents what they do to pull information to get a CMA. So what's a CMA? A comparable market analysis. So it's really, you're pulling in data of what has sold, what's pending, what's your competition on the market, because you really cannot look at a valuation range without doing a great job on that. Not a pretty good job, a great job, because you're going up against other realtors. So you want to be able to be comfortable to master that. We've got a couple of newer agents in the class today. So you want to really be able to work around and move around the multiple listing service. So if you haven't done so already, you're signing up with the Board of Realtors, you're going to be taking their classes. Take their classes for multiple listing service. They also have other web classes online at Stellar MLS. Go ahead and watch those and take those. They have them at set times, and then also you can see recordings of them. So you can really learn on how to move around, how to master and get that data and those statistics. And it doesn't take brain surgery. It takes time to look at it and look at it again and do it yourself. Do a pretend, pick a property that you want to do a market analysis on and go do it. Because it's better that you practice it on yourself than on a potential seller, right? So if you think about, so what's the average sale price? Maybe 250, 300. Let's figure 300,000, right? So say you want to list a property that's 300,000. Well, typically, a listing agent, typically, we're not setting amounts because we can't talk about amounts, but if it were 3%, 3% of 300,000 is 9,000, right? 9,000? 9,000. So you're playing with the potential of earning $9,000 when you go on that appointment. Doesn't that take some time and effort for you to get ready for that potential? It does. If you look at it from that point of view, this is a $9,000 meeting. And in reality, I think about it in a different way, because if you do a wow job for that client, within 1 to 2 years, you should get 2 other referrals from them. So now it's not a $9,000, it's a $27,000 appointment. That's a big deal to me. When you start looking at it that way, it's, you don't get that appointment and go, okay, now how do I get ready to do it? You do this learning now. If you have an opportunity to get an appointment, don't turn it down. Get an agent to help you, get an agent to co-list it with you, do something like that. But the bottom line is, you've got to get this research done and understand it. So CMA, you're going to Stellar MLS. Today, we're really going to be talking about, it kind of went on a bunny trail there. But today we're going to be talking about everything around getting ready for that great, not good, that great presentation, listing presentation. Whether you're doing it in person, and sometimes you might be doing it remotely via FaceTime or a Zoom call, right? Sometimes we don't have clients here all the time. Sometimes right now we're in a COVID situation. They don't want to necessarily meet with us. By the way, if you're going to that property, you wear a mask. Even if they say, no, it's okay, just say, our restrictions are that we really want to protect you. So it's a little bit more uncomfortable to wear a mask. You want to make sure that one that doesn't rub up against your lips, so you're not muffling your words. You always have to enunciate a little bit more clearly. And then I actually bring a bottle of water with me, because what happens is my mouth kind of gets dry and I've got to get a little air and bring a little sip of water. So I said, oh, I already brought my water with me. So I make sure that I've got that so that I'm able to talk and be ready to have that conversation during that time. So we're talking about getting ready to go on a listings, all the things around the CMA. So I've asked here today, what questions do you have starting out, or anybody on Zoom right now? Go ahead and type in questions, because this is going to be a really interactive process where I'm going to answer questions. There's never a question that's silly or dumb, because someone else is thinking of that same question but might be uncomfortable asking. Trish already said she's ready to ask any question. So I'll start out with getting ready. So you always want to think, if you're getting ready, you have a potential listing. Someone has reached out to you, or you've reached out to someone saying, do you want to sell your property? And you have this appointment. What's the first thing that you want? Well, first of all, you want to know, what's the source? Where did that potential lead come from? You always want to track what that source is. By source, I mean, is it your neighbor? Did your mother-in-law tell you about it? Did you meet the guy at football practice? Is it in your yoga class? Was it door knocking? Was it an open house? How did you meet them? Because you want to track as you're starting and growing your business. And even if you've grown your business, I track every lead, exactly where it came from, and every closing, I know exactly where they came from. The reason is we want to make sure, as we're moving forward, that we're making sure we do that activity that will generate more leads like that. So you're finding out what is the result of that. You don't want to narrow down into just that one activity for leads, but you want to look at multiple sources for leads. But the tracking is really important. What activities are you doing that you're getting results from, and what are you doing that you're not necessarily getting results from? Sometimes that takes a little bit longer to do. For example, farming an area, you might take up to a year to start generating business in that area. So don't give up if you're not getting leads from that source. Keep working. How can you get, better in that lead process? So you got a lead, you're tracking the source. So what's the next thing that you want to do? Find out about the area. Absolutely. So how do we do that? What do? We want to find out about that house first, right? So I do something called an everything search. And it's going into MLS. That's why you want to have the mastery of MLS, and seeing if there's any record in the past. I don't look under actives or pendings or sold. I remove all those statuses and look at that address and see if it's ever been on the market. And I print out that information because I want to know, did they buy it, and how much did they buy it for? Did they put it on the market in the interim and it didn't sell or sold? I want to see all that information. Then also, when you go into the records, you can go into the tax records and pull up their last tax bill. You want to see, are there any CDDs? A CDD is a community development district, where that community will pay additional fees, usually with their property taxes each year, for the development of the infrastructure of that community.
So that's something they have to pay extra?
So Trish is asking, is that something? So whenever you ask a question, just say it loud. Is it something they have to pay extra? If it's in those communities, it is with that property. So a lot of them in some of these new communities in what used to be called West Villages in Welland Park near Northport do have those CDDs. Some new large communities are like that. So you want to have an understanding. Even when you're working with a buyer, you want to have that understanding. Are you in a community? So it's great to pull up the tax records to see that. It's also really good. You want to pull up, there's access to tax information on IMAP, which you can get through MLS, and also Realist, which you can get through MLS. So that's the need to really understand your MLS system and how you can move through it and all the information you can get. There's all the videos in there. Active in the area. Why do I want to pull up what's active or for sale?
Oh, they listed that.
Yeah, so competition, want to see what's on the market and want to see how many days it's on the market. And that's part of your CMA process. So this is your finding out. I always say be like a detective. You really want to understand everything before you go there so that when you go there and they say, well, the house down the street just sold. Well, you say, well, no, it still shows it's pending. That's part of your market analysis. Or yes, it did, but it was 2 years ago. So you also want to, I always pull up Zillow. Now Zillow is statistically, depending on the geographic area, it's inaccurate. And in some places, as much as 68% inaccurate. Zillow is not an exact science, and they just kind of compilate information. And what happens is homeowners get what are called Zestimates, right? So Zestimates give you an approximation, but it's just based on what's around that has sold. It's not as narrowed down as your market analysis is going to be. But the homeowner is going to say, but my Zestimate said it's worth this much. So if you don't have that information, what does that mean?
You're unprepared.
You're unprepared, you don't know the market. So you really always want to think that you want to be able to answer anything for them. You want to really wrap your head around. Plus you're starting to learn now these communities and subdivisions. That's part of the value that you're bringing. I mean, if you're selling a house and you're making gross commission of $9,000, shouldn't you be worth that? I mean, they're looking for you to be the real estate expert. If you're new in the business, don't worry, because you've got lots of real estate experts around you. However, that's the mentality to go into it with, that you really need to say, hey, if someone's paying that commission to me, I need to bring the value. So where's the value that you bring? One of the things Blake and I talked about earlier, and the Market Center is going to do, and this is really helpful, is we're going to talk a little bit about pre-listing packages in a minute. And we're going to talk about something that you can put in it that is going to knock those homeowners' socks off. Knock their socks off. And if they don't have socks on, it's going to knock their sandals off, because it's really, really good. And that's going to be going out next week. We're going to talk about that. I'm going to make a note on it. So you kind of, you're doing your research. If you haven't been in that CMA class, you're going to watch the CMA class. You're going to practice, pull up something, and kind of do that research around it. If you're not familiar with the neighborhood, you are driving that neighborhood. You're getting in your car, and you want to have your printouts of your research of what's sold, and you're driving around. Now, be careful. Don't run over anybody. When you pull over, put your blinker over, make sure you're not stopping so no one runs into you. And you're going to see what sold and what did it sell for, and why did this one sell at this price and this one sold at this price. Well, when you look at the pictures online or when you go to the property, you go, oh, because this one backs up to a garbage dump, and this one backs up to a lake with a preserve behind it. So you're starting to then learn valuations and what brings a valuation. So when you go on that appointment, you say, well, yes, that property has a lake and preserve, and I think your property is, let's look at the area. Oh yeah, it looks like there's a parking lot there. Now notice I didn't say, and your property backs up to a parking lot. It was a little bit more subtle, and it's a practice process. So when you go on an appointment, you want to have already had that appointment. You were already had it by talking, by actually making that presentation into a mirror or something else. Because are you practicing on a potential 9,000 to 27,000? Or you're practicing in front of your mirror or in your car while you're driving? Listen, I used to practice before there were cell phones. I would be in my car talking away because I was practicing what I would be saying. So one, I had muscle memory. So in my mouth, I was comfortable saying it. I didn't trip over things that I was saying. Because what happens if you come out on an appointment and you go, hey, Davids, really nice to meet you. I'm Jean Presley Whitaker, Keller Williams Realty Gold. It's really good to meet you. And oh, doesn't your house look nice? Right? If you haven't practiced it before, you've got it in your head, but you haven't practiced it. That's what comes out. Does that instill confidence? Do they want to say, let me pay you $9,000 to sell my home?
I will give you $9,000 to get out of my home.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So the preparing, and that's why this class is talking about preparing, getting yourself mentally set, getting yourself physically set. So when you arrive at the door, you don't have to look like $1,000,000. You don't need to wear a suit. However, you should always be dressed one step above what they're going to be normally dressed at. Because are we delivering pizza or are we a professional? Are they putting in our hands probably their biggest investment of their life? Yeah. So it's reality. People making a judgment in about 3 to 7 seconds.
You can't take it back.
You cannot take back a first impression. So let's talk a little bit about a first impression. When does that first start when you're going to a home?
From the time you talk to them the first time on the phone.
It starts, as Trisha's saying, by the time you talk to them on the phone. Absolutely. So that's where you want to be comfortable in your speaking voice. When you're new at this, and I remember when I was new at this, I didn't have a confident voice. And when also, especially more so for women than men, but it happens too, when you get nervous, we tend to talk a little faster. And when we talk a little faster, our voice gets a little bit higher. And then we talk about this really being a really nice house and I really like it. And can I come inside? And it's uncomfortable. And this is where you want to practice and have pauses like this. That's learned. It's not a natural way that I speak. It's a learned process that I practiced. Practice in the car. I also practice in front of a mirror. Why do you think, other than looking at me or seeing if I've got something between my teeth, why am I looking in a mirror?
Probably because you see someone, you can actually see, you don't feel like you're talking to yourself, but you see someone else
You're
talking.
seeing
And
someone?
you see a facial expression, so you know if you're smiling or not.
You're seeing your facial expression, and that's very important. Now, the challenge that we have, and Blake and I were just talking about that, you're going to be wearing a mask unless you're on a Zoom or a FaceTime call with them. However, your facial expression tells a lot. And I'll tell you a quick story is, I'm always juggling a lot of things in my head, so I'm always doing a lot of things. I was walking into the office. Every morning I'd walk in the office and I have all the things in my head, and our receptionist was Ruby at that time. So I'd say, good morning, Ruby, and I'd keep on walking. And about 3 months later, she came up to me and she was almost in tears. She said, I have to ask you something. I said, what? She goes, why don't you like me? I was stunned. I said, Ruby, I love you. You're great. She said, you never smile at me when you come in. You don't make eye contact. She said, what am I doing wrong? That was like a life-changing moment for me. Because I remember someone once told me, if there's a problem, look in the mirror. Who's that problem? You are. We are. Because all the same stuff's going to happen to us, good and bad. It's how we deal with that and how we think about the other person, not about ourselves. That changed my world. That one lesson that Ruby taught me is that I was concentrating, so I was really focusing. So when you're focused, what you're kind of doing like this, right? And that's like sometimes your first presentation. Let me think about what I'm going to say next. Let me think about what I'm going to do. Okay, she's saying this, so I should be saying this. That's what happens. If you don't practice and learn to relax, get comfortable, make eye contact, be able to be pause. So please practice that. That's going to be your first impression. You can't take that back. The other thing is when they have a question for you and you don't know the answer, my script is, that's a great question. Let me write it down. Do you have any others? So please write this down. This is the script. That's a great question. Let me get the answer. Do you have any others? That's a great question. So that buys you time, right? That's going to buy you some time. And then you're going to ask, so it's not like you're uncomfortable going, I don't know. You're not saying you don't know. You're saying, let me get that answer for you. And then you're asking, do you have others? Because if they've got one, they may have others. So what are questions? What are questions when you were looking with someone buying or selling?
What's the cost? How
What-
much they gonna pay? How much they
What's
gonna pay?
the cost? Or it's a buying signal, meaning they're gonna buy you to list their property, or they're gonna buy you to get to buy a property. But it's the question that they're asking those questions, so they need to have answers for them to move forward. So that's a good sign. You want them to ask questions. That's a great question. Let me write that down. So always have a pad next to you. And it's okay on any presentations, whether you're going to listing presentation or doing a buyer consultation, have that pad next to you. Have your bullet point things, your questions you're going to ask. It's okay to look at it and just refer to it and then go back to it and refer to it and go back to it. This does not have to be internalized yet. It will be, but it also gives you a moment to kind of break and then answer. Break and then answer. So we talked about first impressions, obviously the phone call, and when you're talking to them, but first impression is when you pull up in the driveway. Your car does not need to be new, doesn't need to be fancy, does need to be clean. When you're getting out, you should be on time, not too early, and certainly not late. I set my clock and my watch 10 minutes ahead, so I'm at the end of the street no later than 10 to 5 minutes before the appointment. I pull off at the end of the street. I regroup. That radio is off. I'm not listening to music. I'm not having phone calls. I am now getting in the zone. I'm kind of going, we've talked about that, and Blaze kind of heard me talk about it, is we've got like two little monkeys on our shoulders, right? And there's one monkey that goes, Gene. I don't know how monkeys talk, but let's say they're saying that. Gene, you're great. You deserve this. You're the best realtor for them. But that monkey is asleep. What's this monkey saying?
You suck.
Yeah, Trish says, you suck. It could be that, yeah. Why would you get this? You're new in the business, or you don't know anything. This isn't gonna happen. And those are affirmations that are negative affirmations. And you are what you think. What you hear goes into what you think, and that's what is. And as kind of corny as this sounds, because I'm kind of a bottom line person, I'm like, yeah. But listen, don't go through the first 2 years of my real estate career. We're kind of taking you past that, so you can just get into this direct path for success. Gary Keller on the Millionaire Real Estate book has, I don't want to draw on this, but there's actually a very wide, not should say, a narrow area of success. And when he interviewed the top 50 realtors, not just in KW, everywhere, he found out the activities that they did were pretty similar, slightly different, but pretty similar. And he saw that they all stayed within this path. Left to our own devices, we're like, well, let's try this. Okay, well, that didn't work. Let me try this. Let me try this. Let me do this. That was my first 2 years. What Keller Williams wasn't there to help me kind of go down that path. So it's a pretty narrow path. That's everything that we teach, whether it be Keller Williams online on KW Connect, whether it be classes in the Market Center, whether it be our recorded classes, our YouTube videos. We're sharing that information. So just plug into it. You don't have to recreate something new. This is the system. What's the hard part about doing that?
You always see something else. You want to try something shiny and new.
Yeah, so Trisha's saying something shiny new, something else. Or I don't want to do it this way.
Make it your own.
I'm going to do it this way, or I'm going to do it this way, or I'm going to do it that way. And you haven't been in a class with me before, but I learned about 2 years into the business. I didn't want to do certain things. I'm like, well, that's too aggressive for me, or I don't want to do that. Well, 2 years in the business, I was kind of doing okay, but certainly not even really good, certainly not great. And I saw a realtor that was doing certain activities, and she was getting listings and selling things. But I knew the contract better. I knew I followed up better. What is it? And I learned I needed to do certain activities and put myself out there more, which I wasn't comfortable doing. That wasn't something I was doing. And so I made a decision. And it's a fine decision, whatever you want to do. But I thought, okay, I can go put a blue vest on and go to Walmart and get paid hourly. I can. Or I can adapt what I'm uncomfortable doing to do this. So Jean, make a choice. Make a choice. It was not easy to adapt my behaviors to these other behaviors. In fact, we are who we are when we wake up every day. We're still going to have some of our own limiting beliefs every day, no matter what. It's every morning we have to get that head adjustment. As I talked to Blake about it, it's like a light switch that I turn off in my head. So there's Jean Presley Whitaker person, and then there's Jean Presley Whitaker realtor lady. And it's like a mental switch that I'm in that zone. And you want to have that because you have a personal life and now you have a business life and a business persona. You're still who you are, except you're now in the zone of a high performing realtor. And it's a choice. The training is here. It's a choice to click into that and do those activities every day. Look at your time blocking.
So you guys all made the choice to be here today, right? There are and including Zoomers. I don't want to forget you guys.
Hi, Zoomers.
You guys are.
Listen, you can type in questions or comments or messages, please.
And I keep going back to this video that Danielle showed us during team meeting. I don't remember the guy's name, but he goes, just do it. Oh, I'm gonna go do this. That's great. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. You can say, you can talk as much as you like, but if you don't do the activities, you're sitting right wherever you are now.
Yeah, it is exactly true. Is we can put on our calendar, so I'm a big time blocker. So you put it, it's not a to-do list. You time block it on your calendar. Doesn't mean this is what you're doing when you're doing those activities. There's a separate to-do list, but you're doing these activities within this process. And nobody interrupts it. I tell people, unless the building's on fire or somebody needs CPR, do not interrupt me because I'm doing this activity. So I'm going to talk a little bit about, I always share with people, figure out what you want to make for the year because it's really your choice. Figure out what you want to make for the year. Divide it up into, say you're taking a couple weeks vacation year, up to 50 weeks, right? And then how many hours you want to work a week, and you divide it up, and then figure out, is that $20 an hour? If it's $50 an hour, is it $100 an hour? If you're not doing, if you're coming in, because who do you work for?
Yourself.
You work for you, right? So this is the boss lady or boss man that you're reporting to is you. So if your boss person looks at you and you're not doing $20 an hour activity or $50 an hour activity, I need you to call me up. I'll meet you out in the parking lot. You take a 20 or a 50 out of your wallet and you set it on fire. Because that's just what you did. Because you blew that hour. And that person you're reporting to should be firing you because you're not doing the job. You're not doing the activities that will earn you that $9,000 and $27,000. This is a job. When someone says, well, I like people and I like houses, that's great. And this is a job. It's good you like those things, that's part of it, and this is a job. And when I started looking at that and equating that and decide about the blue vest or not the blue vest, it's when I started valuing who I was and saying, okay, you need to be this person. You need to have this nub. You need to be able to communicate this way, which is not all of our natural behaviors to do that in order to do the production and do the business that you want to do. It's your goal, your options. So we talked about first impressions. getting out of the car. It doesn't need to be new, it needs to be clean. You need to be prepared. You don't want to go out and start fumbling in the back seat and pull all your stuff together, because what are they doing?
They watch.
They're watching you. Are you together? You got it together? Or are you fumbling? When you come up to the doorbell, you ring the doorbell, you've got your mask on at this point, we're in COVID right now, you step back 2 steps. Never come up to that door. You're stepping back. They can greet you, say, so nice to meet you. Right now in COVID, I'm saying, I would shake your hand if I could. Would it be all right if I came inside? And then if you go inside and you see people's shoes are lined up and they're barefoot, take your shoes off. If not, I go like this. And I go, would you like me to take my shoes off? Because you want to honor their home like they honor their home. So it's those preparations, it's that communication to get ready for that presentation. So you've already got your CMA mastered, you've already driven the neighborhood, got an idea of valuations, right? You're also, you can pull statistics up from Stellar MLS, which is awesome. You want to spend some time in there so you can kind of share, what statistics are in the last month. Right now, this is February 2001. Our inventory, depending on the geographic area that you're in, is like 6% to 25% of what the normal inventory is, depending on where you are. So that's something that you want to have the statistics from the previous year. Suddenly, you're a rock star when you have that information. So the thing that I love that we're going to get out to you next week is when you go there, and I'm talking to most of the agents that are newer or relocating, is that our market center, just our MCA, is going to be sending out digitally by email, and we'll also have a color copy posted above the copier here in the office that you can make a color copy of, that will show how many units, properties that we sold, this market center office sold last year. When you go in there and they say, well, how long have you been in the business, or how long you've been in the area, say, well, short period of time, but let me show you what my whole team does, because we're all one big team. And I think it was last year, was it 1,680 or 1,700 and something? When you show them that piece of paper, whether it's an email, pre-listing presentation that you're sending to them, or something that you're bringing printed, and you should have both. We're going to talk a little bit about the pre-listing presentation, is that suddenly it doesn't really matter, right? If your group sold that many properties in the last year, you might have a script or a dialogue that says, does it make sense to work with us? Now notice, it's a learned behavior, right? So my face, I had expression. Does it make sense to work with us? And what did I do? I leaned forward, right? It's not, does it make sense to work with us, right? Which would be what I would normally do, right? I'd say, like, you're like crazy if you don't want us. However, it's a learned process of that. So practice, internalize a couple of those scripts.
And with those scripts, you're gonna feel like you're a robot when you
Oh,
first
yes.
start saying them, but then you're gonna say them over and over and over again, and then it's just gonna flow out of you. And it's gonna sound so natural that you don't even think about it. It's just gonna happen. You're like, whoa, I just said
Like,
what I was
I'm
supposed to
good.
say. Yeah. So that's true.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Because as you start out in anything, the first process is unconscious incompetence. We don't know what we don't know yet, right? We do anything, we're starting out, we don't know what we don't know yet. And then for new realtors, as they come in, they're starting to do classes, they sign up with the board of realtors, they're doing activities. Then there becomes conscious incompetence, which is a painful process. We go, oh my gosh, I know how much I don't know. Oh, how am I going to do that? And you can freak out if you just think about it, you can freak out. In our office, there's a 100-day process that we'll work with our team later on, And that helps you. What do I focus on this week? What do I get done this week? What do I focus on next week? What do I get done next week? Anytime that, for any agent, whether you're new or you've been in the business for a long time, time block on your calendar at least 2 hours, do the same time every week, that you go on to KW Connect on our Keller Williams site and watch videos of the best performing activities. Whether it's a listing presentation, you have an opportunity, which was not even available when I started real estate, of seeing the best of the best. I mean, it's crazy. Take those behaviors, those dialogues, those scripts, and practice them. So we're going from unconscious incompetence. Now we know we're conscious incompetence. We know what we don't know. We're freaking out a little bit, probably a lot. And sometimes what happens at that point to people?
You get quiet.
They get quiet, they shut down. They shut down. And I see this happen. It's easy to happen in your first 3 to 6 months. You kind of shut down. You go, yeah, this is just too much. It just, and you see some people go away. Don't go away. It's doable. It's steps. It's not overwhelming. If I can do it, anybody can do it. You don't need, it's not brain surgery. It's a process. It's your commitment into learning those activities and doing those steps and time blocking, and not going outside and burning that $20 or $50 or $100 bill because you blew that hour. If you blew that hour, put that hour somewhere else. If they say, if you must erase, something has to change, you must replace. Because you've got a job and it's reporting to you. And I know I've got a job and I report to myself. And I'll tell you what, I am one difficult boss to work for because I hold myself accountable, and I always have someone else holding me accountable. And accountability, when you're uncomfortable doing things, what did you say the word was? It sucks. It is. It's hard because you don't want someone keeping tabs on you. Well, accountability is the breakfast of champions. That's what forces us to do things. Remember in school when you had to do a book report? I know when I would do it. I would get up at 5 o'clock the morning of, right? And I would do this book report and get it done. And would I have done it if I didn't have to get into school that day and they wouldn't call my mother? No, I wouldn't have done it. There was accountability. So that's why I did it. And obviously that's why I graduated high school and I went to college, I graduated college and on business. It's that accountability that you want to welcome. That some days you're not, but you want to welcome that. So we go from unconscious incompetence, we don't know what we're doing, then we know we don't know what we're doing, and then we're starting to learn scripts and behaviors. Hi, I'm Jean Presley Whitaker from Keller Williams Realty Gold. Great house. May I come in? You know, it feels really awkward. This is why you're practicing it and you're doing it. You're not practicing on the $9,000 listing commission. So then you go from conscious competence. If you're thinking about it, now you start practicing it in the car in front of the mirror, and then you go into unconscious competence. It's internalized in you. It becomes part of you. Yeah, Trish.
Do you recommend practicing on other agents?
I do. So Trish is saying, do we practice on other agents? Please do. Find a partner and schedule time block each week where you come in, or you can do it FaceTime or Zoom with each other. You can do that. Block it on your calendar. Pick another partner because you can practice on each other. Let someone else, one person do the listing presentation or pretend to come in the door and talk, and then the other person, and then that person critiques them and the other person. That is, that feedback, that is, and the accountability, just put it on your calendar to do it, is the breakfast of champions, where you're going to get that.
Is that better than doing it with, say, a friend or a neighbor or something?
Great question. Is it better than doing it with a friend or neighbor? It is, because bottom line is that agent can critique you. You can certainly do it with a friend or a family member, but sometimes you're a little awkward doing that. Either they're going to let you off the hook, or the other agent is going to nail you. You know, you didn't make eye contact with me. You stumbled. You said 30 times.
And it might be uncomfortable to get that feedback, but that's exactly what you need to make yourself better.
Are you gonna get that feedback or get the feedback of no? You're not getting that 9,000 commission and you're not getting those 2 referrals. No, because you were uncomfortable and you didn't give me the right information. You didn't do the market analysis. So this is where you want to practice to earn that right to do that. And it's okay to say, but pause. Make sure you're okay. Because you have self-talk while you're doing something, you go, oh, I said again, and you're frozen on that. Or when you're talking to somebody, you're not listening to them when they talk because you're, okay, I'm gonna come back with saying this. I always have the pad there and say, would it be okay if I made a few notes? And so I make notes. Whether they're detailed notes or not, they're saying, she's making notes, it's important what I'm saying. So every time you go through a house, before you do that market analysis presentation, is, would you mind giving me a tour of your house? Great, may I put my things down? So you want to find the table and say, where's the best place for me to sit? Because you don't want to sit in their chair. All right, I'll put those things down. If you could give me a tour, that would be awesome. So you're kind of directing them, but you're asking them along the way. And then you bring your pad with you because you're making notes as you go into every room. And you ask questions. Oh my gosh, it looks like you've got really nice crown molding here. So you're showing them that you know what you're talking about and you're acknowledging things. One of the things that I ask people before I go on a physical listing appointment, and Jen might have already mentioned this in her CMA class, I said, would you please have a list ready for me of the things that you've replaced or repaired in the house and the year it was done? They go, oh my gosh, there's so much. I said, I know, but I really want to be able to show the value of your property to those home buyers. So the more I can define that information, the more I can wow any potential buyer for that house. Now, do you think that's a practice script that I internalized? It is. I don't say that off the cuff. So that's why when you watch the KW Connect and you watch these videos, you're learning from them. And then you do a role play with people and you keep practicing. Every week you should be role playing.
From 9 to 11 a.m. every day is script and lead gen.
And so tell me about that.
It is where agents are supposed to get together and they'll practice scripts with each other, and then they will do the rest of the time lead genning. So about half-hour script practice, and then lead gen until 11 after that.
And is that here in the training
It's
room?
right here in the training room. Ramon is supposed to be helping with that. I just have to make sure that it's happening before I absolutely endorse it. But Ramon is one of the best prospectors I've ever seen on cold calls.
And so Ramon is going to be on video for us?
You'll be in the room.
Okay, wonderful.
I have to figure out what the last details were. Danielle and him were talking about it, so this is supposed to be.
Okay, so this is something that we're adding. So be here. If that's your window of time for doing those activities.
And even if Ramon isn't here, someone can come in to start you guys off to script practice with each other and lead gen. So it doesn't have to be Ramon, it can just be someone to get you guys started. We have a stack of scripts that I moved actually to another room that you can use.
Yeah, so you can do that, or you can do, let me do a role play of a listing presentation. I'm gonna bring in a market analysis that you've done and have the other person, and you do it with that person. So I talked a little bit about a pre-listing book or pre-listing presentation. You can get.
I pulled it up so we can show it.
That's awesome. So Blake wrote it out for me, but I need my glasses to read this. So you can go to Designs in Command, and it's also at our Michael Lewis
It's
site.
Michael Lewis Marketing. I'm going to show you the Michael Lewis Marketing one. It's in PowerPoint. So it's a PowerPoint. I'm going to share this. And all you do is you're going to go in here, you're going to put your logo in.
Which could be a name, could be your name.
And you can go through the pages here and custom edit anything you want to.
So you can drop your picture in it. So it is, and the pages is if you don't have listings or things to put in there, you can leave those pages out. But go ahead and create this, put this on your list of things to do, go ahead and create this. You should have a hard copy that you print out of it, and you should have a digital copy that you save. So if people work digitally, you can send it to them, or if you're physically going to a house, I actually bring a pre-listing book. I don't always address it, but it's there for me to flip to. And then when we print out that, send that digital page to you on how many we've sold last year, print that page out and put it in your book, upload it in your digital book. And that is so impactful, because once you do that, it's like drop the mic. You don't really need to say too much more. You know, we sold 1,760 houses last year. Would our office be the best choice for you? Lean in, little smile, be comfortable with that, be approachable.
And if you shake your head, yes, it's happening.
Exactly. So just saying, if you do the little head shake, it does. They'll really I always say, when you say something, you're waiting for an answer back. You're waiting for a yes, a nod, or a grunt. You're waiting for something. So ask those open-ended questions.
So a nice little trick is ask easy, simple yes questions first, so they get trained to say yes. So, oh, it's a great day outside, isn't it? Oh, it's really great outside, right? Yes, it is. Or the water's beautiful. Yes, it is. And the more you train them to say yes, the more likely they're to say yes on things.
Yeah. I'll always say that coming in, like, on these days where it's cool right now, I say, isn't this weather great? Yes. Or I'll go, wow, it's really humid out there, isn't it? I'll just say something that just kind of breaks the ice. Not, are you having a good day today? Because they'll go, oh, I don't know, the internet's down or whatever is not working. My internet went down today. Yes, at my home office. I was like, what?
Well, it was up here. You can always come in here.
I know. So where are you going? Show us.
Oh,
You're
I
in-
was just going through the.
You're in Michael
listing.
Lewis right now.
I went to Michael Lewis Marketing,
Mhm.
and I went into free stuff. I logged into like free stuff.
Free stuff, michaellewismarketing.com, and then free
Give me
stuff.
1 second.
Do they need an account number to click into this?
So we usually set up your accounts in Michael Lewis. If you're not in, let me know, and I will put you in. Here's free stuff. So
You love free stuff.
Mhm. So free stuff, it starts off traditional listing presentation in English and Spanish, and I showed you the high-end listing in English. But they have a bunch of free, all of this is free to us really because we pay for the services.
The
It's
Market
just
Center.
it's just under free stuff from the listing
Yeah.
presentation. So they have a ton of different things in here.
So it is a project to get it done, and it will never be perfect, right? Because what happens is we put things off because it's not good enough or it's not perfect enough. And the bottom line is, it's better to do something good today than great 3 months from now. Get it done, you can tweak it later.
I just stopped sharing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. So michaellewis.com, if you're not set up in that
Michael
account,
Lewis Marketing.
marketing.com.
Sorry, Michael Lewis Marketing Suite.com.
Okay.
Michael Lewis Marketing Suite.com.
.com. Okay, super. So kind of giving you an overview, we're kind of wrapping up. Do you have any questions, or anybody on Zoom have any questions or comments? Any ahas? Please tell me you're walking away with some aha today. You've got to tell me. You've got to tell me something.
Can you tell me again what the CCDs were?
A CDD is a Community Development District.
Okay.
And that's an additional payment that's done with property taxes. And that's only in certain communities, more recently developed communities, where they're passing on some of the expense of the infrastructure with the taxes. Yes.
When should you ask them for the listing? That'd be great to sign with you.
When should you ask them? It's just an
Right after.
assumption. I
Okay.
don't ask.
You just give
We're
them
just-
the
this is the
sheet that
process.
they sign it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Basically, I tell them ahead of time, if I'm sending information, please have a key ready. And I'll do that information, and I'll go ahead and say, I do the tour, go through the listing, or do the market analysis. So if I haven't already asked, you should probably ask on the phone, so what's your time frame? Where are you moving to? And so sometimes I'll give you this little script. Sometimes I'll say, well, I don't have to sell. Oh, okay. So tell me where you're moving to. I always say, if you can't get through it from this door, back up and go through it from another door. Okay, so this first door is, well, I don't have to sell. Oh, okay, I understand. Next door, well, where are you moving to? Oh, I'm moving to Des Moines. Oh, okay, so tell me about that. And we'll go, well, do you have family there? What's driving you to that? Oh, well, my daughter lives there. Okay, great. So you said it's not a time issue? No. So if you sold in a month, you'd be okay, or if you sold in 12 months, you'd be okay? Now notice how I'm saying that. I'm not going, well, would you be okay if you sold it in 12 months? Which I'm kind of thinking that. And they'll often go, well, not 12 months. I purposely do that because what am I trying to do? Narrowing them down. Oh, okay, so when would you like to be there? Next door. So you're just backing up and coming through at a different angle and just keep asking questions. And if you notice my tone of voice, it's very inquisitive. It's not, so when are you moving? So does that matter? So it is a learned process to be not so aggressive and ask those questions in curiosity.
And do you ask them to sign a listing agreement at that time?
Do I ask them to listen agreement? Once I've gone through the market analysis, we look at the value range, we look at what's going on in the market, I share what's going on in the market. I've already asked them, or we revisit what's their time frame. And then I go, okay, so when should we get it on the market? And what price range we're talking about, this being our highest, this being our lowest in the market, what are you comfortable with? And then we start talking about that, and I've got the papers ready. I just have I have all the listing paperwork ready, hidden underneath, so then it's just about price and time of putting it on the market. Any other questions? I've got to get a couple ahas. What are you walking away with? One from everybody. David's.
David first, I talked all the time.
Yeah. An aha, something that you didn't know before.
Well, I didn't know that Zillow was 68% accurate.
Depending on the area, yeah, it's inaccurate, right?
Mhm.
Good. Other David.
Well, I didn't really think far enough as to the practicing your scripts. I kind of was just thinking, just go there and just figure it out as you go.
Okay, so David's gonna be on the fly, figure it out as you go, yeah. So when you think about the $9,000, and that's why I do that, so you can think about it. If you're getting a job and you're gonna go in and get $9,000 for this job, and you're gonna do multiple jobs a year, shouldn't you know information? Shouldn't you be able to deliver information and deliver activities and communication, right? You wouldn't be hired for that job. So this is the schooling, this is the education, this is the practice, that you create your value of why they should choose you rather than another one of the 2,000 realtors in the area. Yeah, so it is, you do the work. Think of Michael Jordan, okay? Did he just say, oh, I'm gonna go play basketball. Let me show up, let me have them pay me millions of dollars and I'll go out. Now let me practice shooting free throws. Right now, what did he do? He cross-trained. He threw basketballs 18 hours a day to get ready for that opportunity. Well, you're getting ready for that opportunity. It's not about getting ready once you get a phone call. It's you're getting ready. I'm getting ready. I've been a realtor for 28 years. I'm always getting ready for that next appointment. If I'm not, I'm falling behind. Because even as you're established, I always think about in Atlanta, they have those, in a lot of airports, they have those people movers. You get on it and you kind of move along. Well, imagine you're kind of moving along. Well, this business is changing and always evolving. So I imagine myself going this way when it's moving this way. Unless I'm walking in a really brisk walk, I'm not even staying in place. I'm going what? Behind. So what do I have to do to stay in place or move forward? I got to be out there pumping and moving. That's my job to do that. And if I don't do that, somebody else is going to be moving past me and I'm going to be way, way in the back. Yeah.
So right now, obviously, the market's moving pretty crazy. Houses are moving really fast and there's a high demand. What do you say to the people when, obviously, everybody thinks that their house is worth more than what it actually is?
Mm-hmm.
what do you work with that with the market and say, hey, well, okay, well, the market's really good right now. I understand you wanna list your house way above what it's worth. Do you go with that, or do you try to kind of reel them in and be like, hey, you know, this is probably a better area for you to stay in, price wise?
Okay, great question, David. So he's saying that, right now, it's February 2021, the market for sellers are really fast, and we're having appreciation. And if you actually watch and track statistics, we had a lot of appreciation. I'm able to share with my clients, the market softened and almost went dead February, March. The market then picked up. We had a lot of appreciation this last summer, and I know that because what did I do? I looked at statistics on Stellar MLS and watched it. Then I also watched what happened in the fall, late fall, is we started seeing properties staying on the market longer because people priced their homes over the market, which slowed it slightly. And so then in your market analysis, if you show what's been on the market more than 30 days, there's something wrong. It's pricing or condition of that. So in your CMA, that would be your communication. So we don't, when I do an MLS search and I do an appointment, I don't set a value. I have the market show in my explanation of it, what's the top number on the best day today, and what's the bottom number on the worst day today, and it shows market values. And then we talk about the strategy of placing it on the market, the benefit of pricing it in the market range and getting multiple offers. I put something on the market this morning at 9:38. I think we have 3 to 4 offers, maybe a 5th one coming in now, because we didn't overprice it. So you can share the strategy of that, or we can say we can try at this higher number, but we will be stale in this market now. We're talking about a time parameter. In 15 days, we're now, what's wrong with it because it's still on the market, it becomes tainted. So you have that conversation. So that's gonna be part of your CMA and the actual presentation, and mastering that by practicing, understanding the MLS, how to search, to know the community. Good question. Okay, anything else? Anybody from any Zoom? Well, listen, we're wrapping up. Trish, did you have one other question or you're good?
Oh, no, my aha was just doing the everything search. I know I would do the CMA and check the pending, even expired. I've already included expired as well. But doing the everything search, like you called it, with the taxes and IMAP and Realist.
Taxes, IMAP, Realist, understand Realist. There's actually a class in Stellar that explains how the Realist printout works out. It gives you a range, but it's not as accurate as what you're going to do in your market analysis. So you can share that with the customer and explain that, and you'll learn that by watching that webinar that I actually watched the other week. So I'm always watching so I stay current and I'm not going backwards on that people mover. Yeah, exactly. So thank you everybody for being here. Time block your schedules, timeblock.kw.com, time block getting a peer partner to do those role plays with. Make it your job to do that so that you can earn the income that you want to earn, because it's really your option of what you want to earn and your commitment to it and accountability to it. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, thank you, Jean.
Thank you.